Welcome back to Rewind of the Living Dead. I am Damon Martin.
And I'm Yautja Commander Patrick Guerra.
What's funny, Patrick, I almost opened the show by just going trying to do the Predator voice and totally
Yeah,
fucking with people, but I couldn't do it. I didn't want to try
I
that.
should have wrote something down.
They actually did create an entire Predator language for this film. Did you know that?
I believe it, nerds.
So yes, tonight, Patrick, we are returning to the world of the Predator. A couple years ago, we did Prey. That was one of our favorite films that year. An incredible achievement by Dan Trachtenberg, kind of reinvigorating and reigniting the passion for a franchise that had kind of died down. And now here we are back with the next film in his Predator, I guess you could call series. They're not connected, but they're Predator films. Predator Badlands.
Damon, Predator Badlands, released in November of 2025, starring the likes of Cameron Brown as a drone synth, Ross Duffer of the Duffer Brothers as Quay's ship computer, Demetrius Schuster Koloa Matangi as Deck, and Elle Fanning as Thea. As you mentioned, Damon, written by Patrick Azon and Dan Trachtenberg, and directed by Dan Trachtenberg. Damon,
And
Predator Badlands. It's here.
it is here. Do you remember how much we just slathered our praise on Prey? Like how much we loved that movie?
Of course, Prey's fucking sick. I still tell people to this day that they need to watch that movie.
We did the entire Alien franchise as our review a couple of years ago, and what we realized is we still love that franchise despite a couple of really bad movies in there. You Alien is always battling for the number one spot for you all time. Aliens is one of my and I like Alien too. Don't get me wrong, but Aliens is one of my favorite films ever. I saw it as a kid and I still love it. We kind of discussed how much we actually do enjoy Alien 3. Then it kind of careened off the ledge a little bit with Alien Resurrection, and I actually turned you around on Prometheus, and we actually turned around a little bit on Alien Covenant. But basically my point is, it was still a good franchise, even though there was a couple really bad films in there in the middle of that. We still loved the entire franchise as a whole. I feel like Predator, weirdly, even though I know they did crossover films, kind of shares a similar DNA because Predator, the original Predator, which we have done in this show, is amazing. I mean, that is just one of the greatest science fiction, action, horror films of all time. I know you've talked about how much you love Predator 2. I enjoy Predator 2 too, but I know you've talked about that's one of your
Love that
favorites. You
movie.
love. Predator 2 is great. But then after that, it gets
Ooh.
it gets some rough scenes, and it took Prey to kind of be like, oh, you can still make a good Predator movie.
Dan Trachtenberg said, "Hold my fucking beer. I got ideas for Predator." And so far so good, Damon. I like his ideas. I loved Prey. And I tell everybody, I go, Prey is probably the best Predator movie outside of the original. Honestly, it's just a very, very good movie, and it's a real shame that it didn't come out in theaters. I still bang the drum that it needs to be released in theaters and people need to see it. And I believe leading up to Badlands, they did do I think a double feature where they released Prey in limited run, like you buy special tickets to see it in the theater. And I hope you did. I hope you saw it on a big screen. I think it's incredible. I think everybody who did that worked on that movie did an incredible job. And then they realized they were like, this Dan Trachtenberg guy, he really knows what to do with this series, doesn't he? Let's let him do other things. I got to see an early screening of Predator Killer of Killers. I went to the Egyptian Theater out in Los Angeles with my buddy Jeff Speed, and we watched it, and then we sat down afterwards and we talked with or the crowd talked with Dan Trachtenberg and Patrick Azon, who wrote it. And we're just like, yeah, we love this shit. We're nerds for this shit. We're nerds for all of the lore and the mythology surrounding the Yautja tribe. And we really want to get into this world. And we got something coming up. We got Badlands coming up in a couple of months here, and we hope you guys check that out too. And I was like, I'm all in. What are we gonna do? What's Predator Badlands really all about? What's it gonna be? I don't think I was ready for what it was gonna be. I really don't. And I don't want to spoil the podcast, but I'm here to tell you, Predator Badlands kind of shocked me in a very interesting way that we're going to get into throughout this podcast. I do think Dan Trachtenberg is onto something with Predator. And if it becomes his life's work, well then I'm here for it, Damon.
Let me mention this. We didn't review it on the podcast. I just want to throw it out there. Predator Killer at Killers is awesome. If you haven't seen that, watch it. It's on Hulu
There's some
also.
segments I like better than others. The samurai segment it's top tier shit. That's a really good segment.
Yeah. But overall, it's a pretty solid,
Yeah.
effort, and you know me, I'm not a big anthology guy, but I actually really like Killer at Killers. That was pretty cool. Um,
Yeah.
that being said, I wanna posit this question to you, Patrick, before we get it. And this is part of our review, but we're in the non-spoiler section right now. I read a couple things after seeing Predator Badlands last night, and I was reading some of the reviews, and there was like this general concern from film fans, film viewers, even Predator fans, is turning the ultimate villain into the protagonist. They compared it to like I'm not saying this why it did. There's a multitude of reasons why the Star Wars prequels didn't work, but they're like it's hard when you're focusing on Anakin Skywalker, knowing he becomes Darth Vader. It's just like it's hard.
Yeah.
Like now you're kind of making us feel sympathetic for him, and you're like until Return of the Jedi, he's a pretty bad dude. Like he's like the baddest dude in the universe. Like you're not supposed to root for this
Yeah.
guy. And so there's a danger in that when you turn your antagonist into a protagonist. And there's I mean, Sony has been trying desperately to do that with the Spider-Man universe for the past 10 years, and none of them have worked. Venom sucked. Those movies are terrible. I didn't like any of those. The Morbius movies god awful. It's Madam Web. Like they keep trying to shoehorn in these villain stories that are like anti-hero. They try to make it play that game. It just hasn't worked. Now, by and large, those are just terrible films. But I think you do walk a fine line when you try to take like a very famous villain and turning them into the protagonist. There's a danger there. And so like when I read that, I was like, you know what? There's a good point there. Because you do run a risk of like alienating, no pun intended, alienating your core audience, because your core audience comes into thinking the Predator is like, they're the Predator. They're coming to hunt people and kill people. Like we're not supposed to root for the Predator.
It was the number one thing I was most terrified when I saw the teaser trailer and it showed this Yautja who goes by Deck as the lead character, and I went, "Oh no, I don't know that that's what we're supposed to do." The Predator is very much this like being in the shadows that hunts you down. You run from the Predator. You don't, the Predator isn't the hero of your story. So but again, Damon, you know me. I'm always down for a swing, right? If you're going to take a swing, let's go for it. Let's swing for the fences. Let's turn this all the way around and say, no, now we're going to focus on a Predator. And honestly, Dan had a pretty good warm up with Killer of Killers, because you're really just with the Predators for the most part. I mean, well, that's not true. Actually, Killer of Killers really does focus on the people that are running from them. But there's just a way to kind of like a new way into seeing the Predators. But Predator Badlands says no. This is a story about a predator, and this is the Predator's story. And I was like, I think it's going to take away all the danger, all of the thrill, all of that stuff that makes the Predator franchise this sort of action-packed thriller, horror, sci-fi thing. It's going to take the edge off of it. And then I saw it and I was like, well, it's certainly still very thrilling. It's certainly a new look, by the way, which, again, we're trying something out for the first time. We're going to make a Predator the main character. So it does feel like something new. I can't be mad at that. I can't be mad at the idea that we're going to see this other side of the Predator, of the Yautja. And yeah, Damon, it's not a scary movie. I'm gonna bury that. I'm gonna blow that wide open and tell people this is not a scary movie. In fact, it's a PG-13 movie. I didn't realize that until we were getting ready to record tonight. But I did realize it when I was sitting there watching it in the theater, realizing, oh, my kids are gonna love this. Some people will take that as offense. They'll go, "What? Predator's hardcore. There should be blood and guts and
Well,
nastiness, and Damon, Predator Badlands has got those things. It's got all those things. It just does them through the lens of a new universe. So what I'm saying to the naysayers out there, and I don't think there's many, but if you're like, nah, I like my Predator edgy, this movie's still edgy. In fact, Damon, dare I say, and I'll throw it over to you. Not only is this a great edgy movie, it's probably the best sci-fi movie that you're going to see all year long, and it's a Predator movie on top of all that. How do you say no to that, Damon?
I mean, 100% agree on everything you just said. And also want to throw out there. So I did know going in it was PG-13, but I was like, oh man, I wonder what that's going to mean. And then after I saw it, I left the theater and I read another interview with Dan Trachtenberg talking about it. And he said, this is great. I love this, by the way. How he got away with it is because this is not a spoiler. You can watch the trailer and see this. Your predator is on a foreign planet. So like all he had to do to get the PG-13 rating, which makes his movie more widely available to more people, I get it, was the color of the blood.
Yep.
Predator's blood is neon green. And then all you have to do with the aliens is just not make their blood red.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can. So this movie is actually very bloody, very gory. Mm-hmm. It's kind of crazy, but it's all because it's seen through the lens of like these alien creatures. There's no like that's literally it. I was like, what a brilliant way in, because you're just like, I want to make this movie as widely available as possible. And to be honest, the only thing that would change a movie like this would be either A, nudity, or B, just a ton of cursing. But you're dealing with an alien language, so that'd be kind of weird to just like feel like you got to pack in a bunch of F-bombs. And why in the hell are we going to have a Predator porn movie? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So, like, all he had to do was just change the color of the blood, which I don't like. That to me, once again, don't get me started on the rating system. It's the dumbest thing ever, anyways. But I was like, that's brilliant. What a great way in. Now you can make your movie as violent and as bloody and gory as you want. You just got to have green blood or blue blood or orange blood, just not red blood. And I'm here to tell you, even though I did go in knowing it was PG-13, when I walked out, I was like, that doesn't feel like a PG-13 movie to me, at least based on the action and the gore and the violence. But this movie has... Here's probably the weirdest compliment I'd ever give a Predator movie, because I think about the original Predator, I think about Predator 2, and I think about Prey. I think about Dutch, and I think about, I always forget what Danny what's his name?
I forget what Danny Glover's name is too in that movie.
Yeah, Danny Glover's character, and then I think about Amber Midthunder's character in Prey. They're the ones you feel for. They're the ones you're like kind of, you want them. Well, I mean, I'm not saying you're not rooting for Arnold, but Arnold's kind of a badass. So you're just like, it's Arnold. He's going to be Arnold. He's going to be a badass. And he is Arnold. He's badass. You're rooting for them to succeed. You're rooting for them to beat the Predator. I think what surprised me most about Predator Badlands is this movie is full. And I mean this as a compliment, Patrick, full of heart.
Yes.
There's a lot of heart in this movie. I did not expect to have my heartstrings tugged on in a fucking Predator movie. But it did, and it worked. And I'll tell you this, because I did have that concern going in. You're turning one of the greatest... Honestly, I mean, when you think about the mythology of the Predator, they are a species born to hunt. That's what they're built on. And they're always hunting for the biggest prey. I mean, yeah, they're killing people to do it, but they're not doing it like, they're not trying to do it for world domination, or they're not doing it, they're doing it as hunters. That's literally their species, is hunters.
It's their sport.
Yeah. But when you watch a Predator movie, like you're watching for the action. Like I said, if you feel any kind of like, oh man, I want my favorite character to survive, it's because the Predators are coming after them. So when you flip the script and you make the Predator the protagonist, you make him kind of the hero, for lack of a better word. I'm like, how am I gonna root for the Predator? That seems like a really bad idea. I'm here to tell you, Patrick, it fucking worked. It worked. And it worked well, and I think it's because they inject so much heart into this movie, where it's like, Here's what my first thought when I left the theater, Patrick, was this. I'm not kidding when I say this. We've had a lot of we don't review superhero movies on this show a lot. We did a review for Superman as our Patreon, patreon.com/WeWanted You want to hear our review of Superman? You can go check that out. You and I are you and I are big comic book movie fans. But one of the biggest complaints lately is the comic book movies have not been great. Like ever since Endgame, Avengers Endgame, they've been kind of rough. Like they've not been, especially
Yeah.
Marvel movies, have not been great. There've been a couple good ones here and there, but by and large, it's not been good. And like everyone's like, we can't figure out the formula now. Like they've somehow lost the formula to make a really strong, really good comic book movie. And I was watching Predator Badlands, and I'm like, this is the formula. This is your formula. If you're making a Marvel movie, follow the Predator blueprint. They took a character that is the ultimate hunter, the ultimate villain, for lack of a better word, and they turned it around and they made a movie full of heart, a movie full of emotion, and they did not lack on action or suspense or violence in this movie by any stretch of the imagination. I was blown away by how they turned me around on my biggest concern, which was how am I supposed to root for a predator?
They did a great job of just scaling down the story itself. Because with sci-fi, it's very easy to get lost in a big world. And they actually do Dan Trachtenberg and company do a great job of world building here, so don't get me wrong on that. But they keep it simple. Alien stands the test of time as one of my favorite movies of all time. If they never made another Alien movie besides Alien, you learn so much in a movie without it saying almost anything. It's just kind of told through the action. It's told through what's going on. Predator Badlands is very similar in that respect. It's like you understand pretty quickly what Deck is up against, and the basic premise is a young predator, which is Deck, is outcast from his clan and finds unlikely allies on his journey in search of the ultimate adversary. Very simple. He's going to go on a hunt to prove his worth to his tribe, and in the process, he meets some allies, and shit hits the fan. Action, blood, guts, and gore. Pretty simple. And I was watching it, and it's funny you brought this up. I was watching it, and I was thinking about like the Star Wars universe. I was thinking about Marvel. I like what's going on with James Gunn's DC. I think it's actually working for me personally right now. But I was thinking about those things over there. And Marvel just dominated for like 10, 12 years, whatever it was. Really just dominated the scene. And I was like, this is your way back in. And ironically, this is a Disney movie. Technically, it's owned by Walt Disney. It's put out by 20th Century Studios, but it's a Disney movie. It's don't get it twisted. Disney paid for this. And I think what's been missing from Disney for a while now is some fucking edge. Like, just put some edge in your damn movies. They're a little too soft. They're a little too safe and right down the middle. Since it's Predator Badlands, you can go hard. Now they're going to go hard on some aliens, but imagine a Star Wars movie where motherfuckers' heads are getting cut off and blue blood is spraying everywhere and people getting ripped apart, and there's danger around every corner and everything is trying to kill you. All of a sudden you'd be like, that is one wild ass fucking Star Wars movie. This is what those movies, this is what the Star Wars and the Marvel and the Disney big action adventure movies have been missing, is dire stakes and real fucking action, real shit. Like that's kind of why I'm giving James Gunn's DC universe like a thumbs up, because shit's hardcore. I mean, I'm not going to spoil Peacemaker season 2, but in the opening episode, there's some shit that goes down. I'm like, Disney on their worst day will never do that. And it was just funny. It wasn't even like, hardcore or anything. It was just something where I was like, yeah, you need to go hard somewhere. And I was like, here it is. Here it is. Sci-fi hardcore. Because just like you said, the blood is blue, the blood is green, the blood is purple. It's not red. And it's not coming out of a human being. It's coming out of like some crazy CG beast. It fucking worked. And on the other side of it too is not just that, but like Dan Trachtenberg is really fucking good at action. So the action in this movie is like it's the kind of thrilling, fun shit you want to sit down for in a theater. But to me, it works, and it's even appropriate for this podcast because there is a deep element of danger in it. There is just that this planet that they land on. I think it's called Jenna
Yeah.
or Genna. This planet Genna that they land on. It's essentially Australia, the planet. Everything's trying to kill you. Every single fucking thing in this planet is trying to kill you. That's thrilling. It's exciting. And like Damon, I don't know how to keep like rephrasing it, but it's downright dangerous. Where everything else feels like it's got pillows on it. It's been nerfed. It's been softened up because Disney owns half of Hollywood now, and Disney has this reputation of going, well, we don't want to show you the hardcore stuff. I didn't. Okay, total side rant here, Damon, because really we got to wait for spoilers to really get into the story of this anyway. So I'm going to go off on this tangent. Recently, just to go to bed every night, I like to put on a couple episodes of Workaholics. It's a funny fucking show. I actually never watched it when it was on the air, and I just happened upon it during COVID times, and I latched onto it and I liked it. But I've been watching it on Hulu, and I was like, oh, it's like there was expires in 30 days or something. I was like, oh no, like Workaholics is going away. Where am I going to watch it? I jumped over to Paramount Plus because that's where it's going to continue streaming. I didn't realize that Hulu had been censoring the show because it's Disney. Disney was like, we're not going to do that. On Paramount Plus, it's not like fully uncensored, but it's like 99% uncensored. And it's that much fucking better. But Disney was like, well, it's our Hulu. I know it's Hulu and stuff, but we're still Disney and we got to kind of be a little soft about it. No, you don't. Go fucking hard. We want that. The world wants it. The fucking kids want it. Damon, you and I grew up children of the 1980s. When you're a child of the 1980s, you sit down and watch 48 Hours. You sit down and watch Commando. I mean, we were watching hardcore shit. And look at us now. We're tattooed degenerates with a horror podcast. I mean, we're all right. It's okay to go hard. And I see this as a pathway, and I saw a little bit of it in Thunderbolts, by the way, this year. Great comic book movie this year. Thunderbolts was another one that went kind of hard, that really fucking pushed the envelope, even got into some deeper themes, into some darker shit. This is where Disney needs to start loosening up, or they are going to end up falling by the wayside. I mean, I know they're trying to revitalize Star Wars. They fucking buried it. They beat it into the ground, but it's too soft, and it's time to get hard again, Damon. And here we are. Predator Badlands goes fucking hard.
It's funny you say that about the Disneyfication of it all, because I'll be honest, when this movie started, and I kind of had an idea where it was going, of like, here's the Predator landing on a planet, and he kind of, this isn't a spoiler. You can see it in the trailer. Like, but he kind of befriends or kind of has like help along the way. That's the easiest without spoiling what it is. Help along the way. And I immediately got vibes like, oh, please don't turn this into The Mandalorian, where he's walking around with Baby Yoda. Yeah. I had that thought. It doesn't do that because it goes hardcore. And there's still emotion. When I said there's heart in this movie, there's absolutely heart in this movie.
Yes.
Now, I'll be honest. I do like The Mandalorian. I've enjoyed The Mandalorian. I've enjoyed that show for what it is. But it's gotten a little monotonous because it's the same shit over and over and over again. Yeah. And it's just like, oh, let's see how cute we can make Baby Yoda. That's not what I want in a show. I'm not saying Baby Yoda can't be cute. I got over the Baby Yoda being cute thing like after the first season. I was like, all right, move on. Like, give him his fucking full powers, or just move the fuck on. I'm over the like he's a cute little baby thing. It's tiresome. This movie takes that formula, but actually makes it work. And to that point, also about the Predator. When you think about the formula of a Predator movie, they're all pretty, like, the good ones are all pretty similar. Antagonist, you got your soldiers, or in Predator 2, you got your cop, you got your human setting, Earth setting, whatever, or in Prey, the 1700s, you got your Native American tribe. And then a Predator gets dropped in the middle of that, and he's hunting them. That's the premise.
Hmm.
And the really good Predator films that have worked have stuck to that premise. And the reason why the original Predator worked is you gave us interesting characters with Arnold and Carl Weathers and all the other Jesse Ventura. All those characters were great one-liners out the asshole, great characters. And then you dump the Predator in there, and it's like, and these are like badass, like soldiers of fortune, like, you know, real badass, like commandos, and they're getting taken out by this Predator. That's how you know the Predator's a badass. Then you get to part two, then it's in like an urban jungle setting. It's in like the city.
Love it.
Much different, right? You're not
Yeah.
protected by the camouflage of the trees. You're dealing with all that. Great movie. But then they did like Predators, like the Predators or whatever. They did a couple other ones that were just real bad. And the reason there's a lot of reasons why they didn't work. But part of the reason was they tried to inject other shit. You know,
Yeah.
like, oh, we're gonna, now we're gonna have this like
Yes.
little wrinkle, and now we got to make a super predator. No, I don't
Yeah.
need a super predator. You get back to prey. Native American tribe, predator lands, and they're really up against it because it's the 1700s. They don't have guns at this point. I mean, they don't have like weapons of that nature in that point. That's such a thrilling ride to go on for that movie. And Amber Midthunder's character and her tribes, it's just such a thrilling movie, and it sticks back to the original formula of the Predator. What's interesting about Badlands is you're like, well, hold on now. You're just now telling me that the Predator is the protagonist. He's the hero. But the concept, still the same. Predator gets dropped into a foreign land, and he's trying to complete a hunt. He's just not hunting humans this time. It's creatures, which we got to, you remember, I mean, any mythology of the Predator you ever see is not just about humans. They're not just hunting humans. They're hunting the toughest sport.
Yeah.
You land on this planet called Genna, and it's just filled. Like you said, it's Australia the planet, which was a great description, by the way. There's alien life forms, creatures, plants, beings. Like it's all deadly. The premise is still the same. You're just following it from the point of view of the Predator versus you don't have Dutch or you don't have Danny Glover or you don't have Amber Midthunder. Yeah. But the concept is still the same when you stick to the formula, but then you inject little differences. Like taking it to the 1700s and actually giving us incredibly compelling characters in Amber Midthunder and the other Native Americans in the tribe. Taking it to the urban jungle. Giving us a different setting in that with the second one. Or, again, the original kind of stands on its own because that's the template. Now you're in a totally foreign land of a planet that's just deadly. And you're dropping in a predator that is desperate to prove himself. It's the same concept. You're just seeing it from a different point of view. And it works.
He's still after the deadliest game. Like that's the thing. Is like whenever we met Predator in the other movies, they were going after the deadliest game, except for The Predator, which I think was the Shane Black one. Terrible movie. Jesus, what a bad movie. I don't even understand what the Predator was after. That movie sucks. But these other movies, it's like the Predator's after the ultimate game, right? Every time. And in this movie, it's the same deal. Now I'm actually going to give credit on the flip side here to Disney, because what this movie, you said this movie has a lot of heart. That kind of comes from like the Marvel pipeline of like characters we love, characters that make us laugh, characters we want to see succeed. It's really hard to do that with a Predator. And I'm telling you right now, if you're still skeptical, they keep the Predator the Predator. He's a little bit, you understand him a little bit farther than you would in any of the other movies because he's actually part of the story now. Now he actually has goals and obstacles and all that stuff, and he's going to talk to you in his Predator language, but he's going to talk to you. But he still very much has these goals, and he's still very stoic. He comes from a warrior culture. All they give a shit about is going to mow something down. So what they did is they injected in a side character that is very what I would say is Marvel, kind of more of a Marvel style character. They're funny. They kind of they can do things that a person can't do. It's starting to give a little bit of a superhero vibe to it, a little bit, kind of like slightly.
kind
But
of
it
a half man. They know things, like a little
they
bit of that
have they
too.
have knowledge and all that stuff. So it's you're bringing in like a super serious character and then like kind of a funny, goofy character. Not too goofy, just enough. I think just the right balance. Honestly, Dan Trachtenberg and Patrick Azan did a good job of balancing that character a little bit to make it kind of fun. Like I think of like before Thor became a comedy when Thor and Star-Lord came together. What a perfect combination. You got this serious god of thunder next to Star-Lord, who's essentially just a big American goofball. There's something about them that worked together. Tony Stark and Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange very straightforward, very serious. Tony Stark kind of witty, kind of funny, but they complement each other. That's something that Disney brought to the table. Or, it feels that way to me anyway. It feels like, hey, like this is what we're doing. We're going to a wider audience. Let's put some of what has been very successful for us in this formula. And any other time I'd be very skeptical of it. But in the right hands, and those hands are Dan Trachtenberg's hands, it's working. It makes for a great kind of buddy adventure movie that has real stakes. And Damon, you and I have been begging for real stakes for months now. And we talked about this right before we turned on the podcast. It has been horror Badlands out there. We've been having trouble really latching onto a great horror movie. There's been a couple here and there's smatterings of great, like good horror movies. Marshmallow comes to mind. But the later half of this year has been tough. It's been a wasteland because the stakes don't feel like they're there. And I'm happy to report the stakes are alive and well in Predator Badlands.
And last thing I'll say before we get to spoilers, when I mentioned about like the formula is the formula is the same. But when you talk about the stakes and you talk about the injecting of the new characters, and I talk about the injecting of the heart of this movie, it all works. And I think like that is what I'm not trying to go back and critique the Predator, and I think there's Predators. I think those are the
Predators,
two.
yeah.
Yeah. The reason they just tried to do too many different things by just injecting Predators, or even like Alien versus Predator, which are just terrible movies. They tried to be like, okay, now we're going to put the Predator in this sequence, and now we're going to create super Predators, or what? I can't even remember all. I think I've seen each of those movies one time, and I've never gone back, and have no desire to go back. So there's a danger. There is a danger taking that formula that works and then injecting new things, right? Like you're like, I don't know. Like is this like I said? I mean, just go back to our original point about making the Predator the protagonist. There's a danger there. I get it. And when I read that everywhere, I was like, yeah, that's kind of a good point. Like when you think about trying to make the villain the hero, it kind of demystifies what makes them such a great characters, because you're like, I don't really want to see Darth Vader with his mask off. I want to see Darth Vader's like at the end of Rogue One, where he's just fucking everybody out with his lightsaber and the Force. That's the Darth Vader I want to see. But somehow, through the writing and the directing and the execution of what Dan Trachtenberg and Patrick Azan, am I getting that name right? Azan?
I think so, yeah.
What they're able to do is they're taking the same formula, the formula I said works, and you kind of want to stick to it, the Predator movie, and injecting just enough, and a few differences. And when we get to spoilers, we'll talk about the biggest difference, which is like the biggest plot reveal in this movie that we can't talk about without spoiling the movie, that actually works without, by the way, without going away from the original formula of Predator landing on a planet trying to hunt down the ultimate prey. That never changes.
Mm-hmm.
That never changes. It's just the stakes and the characters are a little different. And what happens around the Predator is different. Now, it's a risk. In somebody else's hands, it wouldn't work. In Dan Trachtenberg's very capable hands, this movie worked to a T, in my opinion.
Right now I'm crowning it my favorite sci-fi of the year, and I've seen a few. I just took the kids to Tron Ares. Holy shit, boy, did that suck! Oh, a 2-hour music video. This is fun. Uh, there's been a few different sci-fi movies that have come out this year, but I think, in my opinion, Predator: Badlands is the best, and I'm really excited to get into why I think it's the best.
I could have told you Tron. I didn't even see Tron Ares. I could have told you.
Damon, I'm a father. Sometimes you got to do it, right? The kids have been excited for Tron Ares for a while. I was like, I would have never gone to see this movie, but I decided to be a good dad and take them, so I took them. And yeah, this is better than this is way better than Tron Ares. I mean, way better.
I know you're a big Jared Leto fan. All right,
Huge Jared Leto guy. Yeah.
With that being said, let's get into spoilers. And as we said always, if you haven't seen this movie, clearly Patrick and I enjoy this one. But all I can say is go see this in a theater. It is a big action packed.
Oh, it's a big screen movie, Damon.
You need to I know everyone's like, oh, you always told us to go see it in the theater. I'm telling you, this is when you need. If you're going to go see this, you need to see it in the theater. I'm still pissed off I didn't see Prey in a theater. So that's like 3 years ago. I'm still holding a grudge over that. So go see this in the theater. Check it out. It's in theaters right now. And if you want early access to this episode or any episode, make sure you check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Rewind of the Living Dead. And we put all our episodes up there as well as bonus episodes and other cool shit. So check that out. So we are now in full spoiler territory. Patrick, do you want to unravel we already kind of gave the plot, but like the big twist of the plot of like what we're getting into with the extra characters and like the injection of another universe?
Damon, this was the thing that got me so nervous. And this really isn't a spoiler because you could see it in the trailer, but just in case our faithful take after their buddy Patrick and now their buddy Damon, because Damon also is ignoring trailers these days. In the trailer, they show you that this Yautja deck, he lands on this planet. And again, just for real quick sake, his family basically forsakes him as the weak one. And his dad does not like him and wants him dead because he's the runt of the litter. And there's no there in the warrior culture, there is no room for a runt. So Deck has to go. His brother protects him, and in the process is killed by his dad. But Deck takes off and decides, I'm going to go to the most dangerous planet and find the most dangerous game, this unkillable beast called the Kalisk. So he ends up flying to Genna. His brother's dead, on his death on his mind, and he's out for glory and justice, the warrior way, the Yautja way. He lands on Genna, and immediately Genna is trying to kill him. I mean, the trees are trying to kill him, the plants are trying to kill him, the birds are trying to kill him, the worms are trying to kill him. I mean, literally, worms are trying to kill him. And as he is being inundated by the harrowing nature of this planet, a voice calls, "Hey, up here! I can help you if you just let me down." And it is the voice of Elle Fanning, aka Thea. Thea, if you look closely, has something on the back of her eyeballs that is unmistakable to fellow sci-fi nerds, and that is the symbol of Weyland-Yutani. Thea is a synth. Thea is a synthetic human built by Weyland-Yutani to go to the farthest reaches of space. And guess what? Look for alien life forms to create bioweapons for the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, because that's what they are obsessed with. Damon, this is a full-blown crossover into the alien universe. I was most nervous about this aspect. I said, what on earth are they going to do crossing over? Because I was never a fan of Alien versus Predator, even though I saw both of them in the theaters. I was greatly disappointed by those movies. And we did not review them as part of our Alien franchise. We're like, that ain't canon. Fuck that shit. Because we can do whatever we want. We own this podcast. Damon, I'm happy to report that is as far as it went. I didn't get a hint of like, here's Ripley or here's Rain and Andy. I was really worried that those crossovers were going to be kind of shoved down our throats in this movie, and they're not. The truth is that Genna just happens to be a planet that was in the sights of Weyland-Yutani as well, and there's some synths on that planet that are surveying it and looking for bioweapons. That's all it is. And Thea, played by Elle Fanning, has been torn to shreds, and so she's only half of Thea right now. She doesn't know where her other half is currently, and she's like, I know the planet. I know the fauna here because I've been studying it. I can help you on your journey. And this Yautja, very serious Yautja, by the way. Deck is just like, we don't do help. That's not what our culture does. And she's like, well, without me, you would have been dead anyway. So you might as well just help me out. So he straps her to his back, and now we're in a buddy movie, Damon. And I was like, how's this gonna play? And at first, I was a little nervous because Thea is very jokey. Thea's very lighthearted. And for a synth, that's kind of weird because most of the synths we know aren't very jokey, although we know Andy, my favorite synth of all time in the Alien universe, is actually kind of a funny guy. So it did track, but I was like, this is that Disneyfication of this that's getting a little too silly for me. But it paid off dearly, Damon. This movie just fucking rips and roars. And when Deck and Thea get their sights on the Calisk, this incredible beast that truly cannot be killed. I mean, they try everything to cut its limbs off and everything, and it just keeps coming. We find out,
It regenerates. Everything it
yeah,
regenerates. You can.
yes, it can regenerate. It's essentially immortal. And so it's giant. I mean, it's the size of 10 elephants. It's a big giant animal. But we learn that Thea's also got a counterparts that are still on this planet. Tessa and all these other synths are out there, and they're not nice. Thea's nice. They not nice. And they want the Calix for themselves. And if they just happen to pick up a Yautja and study that too, well, hey, cool. They're full-blown Weyland-Yutani cold-hearted motherfuckers. So that's the other ticking clock. It's like, can Deck and Thea get their Calisk and take it back to his planet and prove his worth as a warrior before Tessa and the rest of the synths close in on them and do their Weyland-Yutani thing, which is steal a bunch of fucking animals from another planet and claim them as their own weapons?
What was really fascinating about this, I was reading that interview with Dan Trachtenberg, and they were like, how hard was it for you to get permission to do the Weyland-Yutani stuff in this movie? And he's like, actually, not hard at all. He's like, all I had to do was tell them that we're doing this in like a far reach of the universe that doesn't affect anything else you're doing. And they're like, cool, go ahead. I thought that was pretty cool. And they didn't say, oh, well, when does Ripley show up? When does Bishop show up? When does whatever? No. They're just like, they want to do their own thing. And it's kind of funny. It's really ironic because like when he was making this, he'd written and was making it. They knew that Alien Romulus was happening, and he kind of heard rumors about Alien Earth, the Noah Hawley series that's on FX. But they had there was no let's trade notes or let's talk, like none of that. They had no interaction when they were making this and even though they're all in the same company. And it's kind of funny because I'm not spoiling. I mean, I guess if you've never seen anything about Alien Earth, but a big part of the plot of Alien Earth is Weyland-Yutani out collecting species. And that's, by the way, that's kind of Weyland-Yutani's thing, as we've learned with the Xenomorph. So it's kind of funny that like Noah Hawley and Dan Trachtenberg basically had the same idea for like how they're going to use Weyland-Yutani in this new universe, which is collecting species to use as weapons. It's not like, brand new idea.
Yeah.
It's literally Alien and Aliens. But I thought it was kind of funny. Like they had no knowledge of working with each other, and that's exactly what they went for. So when Deck gets this planet, and he keeps calling Thea tool because she's like, I'm not human, I'm not a person, so I can help you. Just think of me as a tool, like just like your weapon. I'm just a tool. So he literally calls her tool the entire movie. It's kind of funny. And he straps her on back, and then while they're there, they end up meeting a little creature named Bud, little blue. Looks almost like Ewok. And I was like, oh God, don't do this. Don't go down that road. We got the cute little furry thing that's going to be like our plush toy that we're going to sell at Christmas. I'm here to tell you it doesn't turn into that, by the way. But right. Bud kind of befriends them because they save him. He saves them. And you're like, oh, okay. We're walking a fine line here. Where are we going here with this cute little toy? It actually turns out not to be a cute little toy. Bud is actually a baby Calisk. And there's if you're going to show it, use it. You always say that. If you're going to show it to us, use it. There's a point when Bud, or excuse me, where Deck is eating dinner and Bud is like hanging out with him. You can see kind of like he likes Deck, like he likes Deck as like a person, and he gives him some meat and he feeds the little blue creature, and the little blue creature spits in his face, and he's like, the fuck? And Tia's like, no, he's marking you to say like you're part of his tribe, you're part of his clan. He's like, all right, whatever. And so when they go and battle the Callus, and they actually meet the Callus is ready to fucking bite Deck in half. And it stops because it sniffs and smells its child on Deck, and it knows you've been marked. You're one of us. You're okay by my kid, which I thought was a really cool little twist. You know, it's just an animalistic thing. Like that's exactly what animals actually do. And so like they go and they battle the Kalisk, and then that's when the evil Weyland-Yutani shows up, and they actually do freeze and capture the Kalisk. They also capture the Yautja. They take back Thea, and she's reunited with her quote-unquote sister, Tessa. They take them all back to the Weyland-Yutani labs, and they're like, all right, well, hey, we got the Kalisk. Now we got a bonus with the Yautja. Everyone's back together. Good. We're going to light up and head back to Earth. And obviously, Thea is not happy about this because she promised Deck she would help him back home, back to his journey to return home and be proud of his species or whatever. And they do mention at one point that Mother, the computer, or Weyland-Yutani as a larger corporation, gave them feelings, gave them emotion, which was a little twist. Once again, a little worrisome. A little bit. But also remember, you got to go back to Ash. When they programmed Ash to basically do whatever he's told, damn the crew. And then when you get to Bishop, they're like, I cannot harm humans. So they can program them in interesting ways, in different ways that aren't just like, they're just like these automatons. So Thea has a little bit of emotion. Tessa is clearly not, because she's just like, I got to complete the mission. Fuck all y'all. And so they capture Deck. They put Thea back in programming to get her down. And Bud has kind of disappeared at this point, but they do capture the Kalisk, and they're like, we got this regenerative Kalisk that's going to help humanity. So they say. And of course, Deck manages to get free. He manages to help Thea get free. And there at that point, he is on a mission to fuck up Weyland-Yutani and all the synths. And this is where it comes in with the genius I talk about the blood. Synths don't have red blood. They have this white milky blood. So there are fucking synths getting chopped to hell in this thing. Chopped in half, heads flying, spines getting ripped out. It is as bloody as any Predator movie you've ever seen. There's just no red blood, but it's PG-13. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, this is how dumb censors are. They're like, oh, there's no blood. Cool. Ripping his spine out. That's all right, but it's not red, so we're good. So Deck goes and lays waste, gets in the fight, and Thea helps him, of course. And long story short, and we'll talk about the ending in a little bit. I want to actually get into the actual ending and what comes next. But the end of the movie is basically that they free the Kalisk, and then sadly Tessa actually gets eaten by the Kalisk. But she ends up igniting a bomb, blowing up the poor Kalisk. The Kalisk dies. She actually does find a way to kill it because she blows it up from the inside. She freezes it from the inside, blows it up. And then before it can get to her, they end up stopping Tessa. And Deck, Thea, and Bud survive, and they all fly back to his planet. We'll talk about the ending, the actual ending in a little bit. But that's basically the plot of the movie. But the twist, of course, is that the Weyland-Yutani are really the villains in this movie. They're, once again, Weyland-Yutani, the evil corporation. And I had the same concerns as you when I saw the original teaser, which was I heard about the eye. You can see the Weyland-Yutani. I was like, oh, fuck. What are we doing here? We're going to inject, like, is this going to be Predator? Is this going to be Alien versus Predator 3? Please don't do that. So I was like, you know what? One synth. It's a rogue synth, got dropped off here somehow. All right, that was my thought going in.
Sure.
And then you get to the movie, and there's like a fucking 1,000 synths, and it's a full-on colony of synths, it's exploring this planet. But it works. They didn't introduce a xenomorph. They didn't try to introduce some stupid super predator, some dumb bullshit like that. It's just a research party of synths sent there to capture deadly creatures to use for Weyland-Yutani's nefarious means. And Deck, throughout the course of this movie, grows and evolves as a person or as a Yautja to learn that there's more to life than just hunting and killing everything in your path. you can have a family of sorts. Because his family, he literally, getting into this movie, he watched his father murder his brother.
Yeah.
Literally watched him cut his head off at the beginning of this movie.
Just because his brother defended him, right? His
Yeah.
brother was just like, "Hey, it's my brother. Like, I'm not gonna like, we're not gonna kill him." And the dad's like, "You call the herd of all the weak, things. That's what we do." And his brother defends him. So the one person in his life that showed him, compassion was killed right in front of his eyes. And so and they're already a cold species to begin with.
By his
So like
father, by the way, by his father.
by his father, but they're a cold species to begin with. So when he comes to this other planet and he meets kind of this kind of goofy fairy synth in Thea, he's like, whatever, like, listen, none of that shit really matters. And what his like emotional arc in this movie is like weakness is a problem. Weakness is a problem, and I will solve that problem by just being even more aggressive. And what he learns is that he is indeed outgunned, outnumbered, outsized. He's actually not meant to be a Yautja. Like that's just how the cookie crumbles in their culture. He's too small. He's not strong enough. He's smart enough. They're clearly very smart and skilled hunters, and he shows that throughout the movie. But he needs help along the way. And if he wants to survive, he needs to accept help from others. He needs to accept that taking someone in isn't weakness, it's a tool for survival. He has to look at it through his lens. He doesn't all of a sudden become soft. He doesn't all of a sudden become silly and laughing and all. He doesn't. He stays a Yautja, but he has to go through his philosophy, through his warrior philosophy, and see, if I do want to survive, if I do want to prove myself as a great Yautja warrior, I still have to modify like how my mind works, because I'm not my father. I'm not even my brother. I'm not my mother. I'm not any of those things. I am who I am. I have the cards that I've been dealt, and this is how I'm going to get through it, because my ultimate goal is to be a Yautja warrior. And so he allows these things in slowly but surely. He has to understand it, and also he understands that he's, as far as he's concerned, he's a man without a tribe. He doesn't have a tribe. They've rejected him. His father is the leader of his tribe and has rejected him. His brother's gone. A new tribe has to be formed, and that tribe is Thea, and that tribe is Bud. That tribe is that Kalisk. Like he's like, yeah, I do I not want a place? Do I not want to belong somewhere? Of course I do. And I love that it didn't swing tonally for him. He was still always very stoic, very serious, but along the way used his warrior knowledge to recognize what he needed to do to survive. Is it is it a little lighter than your typical Predator movie? Yeah, it's a little lighter than that. But the core, I guess the core fundamentals of who he is as a Yautja do not change. He just has to learn. He has to learn to be the best potential warrior he can be, and that's letting these people in. So I dug that, because that's a new way into being a Predator. That's a new way of seeing it completely, and you might as well do it, because this is the first time you're getting a movie where it's from his perspective. I thought they did a fucking great job with it.
They repeatedly talk about Deck wanting to be part of his clan, part of his family, for lack of a better word. Like, he wanted to be part of his family. The only way to prove that was to go out and become this ultimate hunter. But he kept using this word clan and family and pack. And at one point, Thea tells him about the wolf. And she says, on planet Earth, there's this creature called a wolf. And it's a fierce creature, great killer, great hunter, one of the greatest, best hunters on Earth. And Deck is like, oh, I can't wait to battle it. I can't wait to find it and battle it. And she's like, no, they're not hunters just going out killing for sport. The alpha, the lead wolf, is protecting his pack. It's not about the killing for sport. It's about killing to survive.
Yeah.
And the alpha is there to protect his clan, his family. And it's something that Deck has to learn through this movie because he literally watches his father order his death at the start of the movie, and then his brother saves him and sacrifices himself, and he gets murdered. So his idea of family is literally watching his father kill his brother to say, "You're a weakling. You do not belong in this family because you're not strong enough." And what he learns through that, that analogy with the wolf, and what he learns by working with Thea and working with Bud, is that it doesn't have to be. You can still be the ultimate hunter. You can still be this badass Yautja, but that doesn't mean you need to sacrifice people just because they're helping you. You know what I mean? Like, he's learning, like, it's
Yeah.
okay. Like, his interpretation of the pack or the clan changes because of the people around him. The only version he had before was this asshole dad who was like, "You're not strong enough? Off with your head. Fuck you." And he does it. He was gonna kill him, and he ended up killing his brother. And he's like, there's something inherently wrong about this. He has to learn that throughout the movie, and he learns, like, it's okay to have family. Your family doesn't need to want to murder you. And and that is a lesson that he learns. So, like we're talking about, like, the heart and the feeling and the evolution of the Yautja of Deck in this movie. And yes, it's all there. But he never loses the sense of him being the ultimate hunter. Actually, he advances by the end of the movie because he adapts to his surroundings. And when
Hmm.
he goes in and attacks the Weyland-Yutani camp, he has kind of turned the creatures that once tried to kill him into weapons. He actually, like, at one point, there's like these weird, like, Hydra like snakes that like attack you. And at one point, like, he's killing, and Thea's like, "It's easier if you just do this," and she holds out a little handful of berries. They're looking for food, and she eats out of their hands, and they're friendly. She's like, "They're not gonna attack you if you don't attack them." And so he goes back and he has a handful of berries, and he gets these snake things to come with him, and he uses them as like a weapon. There's this plant creature that spores out and sends spike out, like paralyzing spikes, and he learns to use his surroundings and creates weapons and better armor and better battle stuff to go in when he goes after the Weyland-Yutani synths. He used, like, so there's nothing un-Yautja like about Deck. He just adapts his personality in terms of, like, hey, I don't need to want to murder my family.
Yeah, no, it's the wolf analogy is perfect, right? Because he admired what the wolf was. He's like, oh, I would love to go toe to toe with that. But ultimately, what would when he learns from that story is like the wolf is great because it protects its group, and that group together is formidable. That's why the wolves are so revered. And so if he had gone with the philosophy that he started with, which was his father's philosophy, it would have killed him on this planet. It would have killed him on Genna. He couldn't go with that philosophy. He had to modify himself. He had to change himself into a warrior that adapted to his situation and adapted to a pack like mentality, which that's not a typical Yautja, at least not for these tribes, not the tribes that we met. Which, by the way, Damon, their ship, am I crazy? It's the ship from Predator 2.
It looks like it. I don't know if it's the same one, but it's the
But the
same.
trophies on the wall are almost identical. The only thing missing is the xenomorph head.
Yeah.
And I'm going, well, where is it on the timeline? I'm very curious, because we know that Predator 2 takes place in the 90s, quite literally. So it takes place well before xenomorphs were invented if you go along the timeline. So I don't want to get into the weeds there. My point is this, is that if he had to make a change to be the ultimate Yautja he could be. That's the heart of this movie. That's the heart and soul of this movie without ever really like nerfing him, without ever making him soft and cuddly and sweet and like making a joke here or there. Even like, like in Terminator 2, the Hasta la Vista baby, things like that kind of lightened up the Terminator. You don't really get that here. He just goes, okay, you can be part of my pack. Like he lets Thea in. He lets Bud in. He lets the Calisk in to just go, okay, you can be You can be part of who I am, so I can have a tribe of, formidable warriors. And it's just going to be, this is going to be the way it is for me. I like that about this movie.
You mentioned, I don't know why I'm making this comparison, but I think you mentioned it earlier when you're talking about buddy action comedies, and one of my all-time favorites is the classic 48 Hours, which is
Yeah.
directed by, why am I forgetting his name? Oh my God, he was the original producer of the Alien movies. Why am I forgetting his name?
Oh, Walter Hill. Yes.
Walter Hill, thank you. Walter Hill. He was the director of 48 Hours. When you meet 48 Hours, if you've never seen 48 Hours, incredible movie. Nick Nolte, Eddie Murphy. In the movie, Nick Nolte is this like hard, crusty. He's like the Clint Eastwood like loner cop. Like he wants to be
Yeah.
by himself, never wants a partner. He goes outside the rules, but he gets things done. You know, that classic '80s cop. But when he meets Eddie Murphy's character, who's a prisoner that he gets out on a pass to help him find this criminal, he treats him like dirt. Like he treats him like a criminal. He like literally like, you know, in this movie he's actually pretty racist and like everything else, but it's like he's doing everything possible to keep Eddie Murphy down because he's like, you're not on my level, you're not equal to me, you're scum, you're a prisoner, you're whatever. You're a means to an end, which is very much what Deck looks at Thea at the beginning of this movie. He calls her tool. Like I said, he literally doesn't call her Thea. He doesn't call her Thea. He calls her tool. By the end of 48 Hours, like Nick Nolte realizes like Eddie Murphy is like very capable, very smart, very helpful. Has saved his ass a couple of times in this movie, and he's like, "Yeah, like I've grown, I've evolved. I do need you." I know it's a weird comparison, but like you see the growth and the evolution of like this grumbly, rough exterior, badass cop, and he kind of like, you know what? I do need you. And I do find value in you. And you're not just some dude that I got out of prison. You're a piece of scum. You're actually my equal in a lot of ways. That's the evolution that Deck takes because he's not used to this. He's not used to people being like, hey, like there's something that actually could help you in life that you don't have to just murder or that wants to murder you. And listen, I'm not saying this would work every time, and I'm not saying you should make 1,000 of these movies where like let's get to the heart of the heart of the predator. I don't need that in every movie, but you did it once and it worked. Now I'm not saying you couldn't do another version of this somewhere down the road, maybe, and find find somehow it works. But the reason it works is because you actually see the evolution, and by the end of 48 Hours, Nick Nolte is still a badass cop. He's just taking a little softer stance towards Eddie Murphy's character. Same thing here. Deck is still a Yautja. He's still, actually, by the end of this movie, he's even more of a badass predator.
Yeah.
But he's learned that it's okay to have people around you that actually care about you and want you and need you, and you need them. It sounds very, like, Hallmarky, I know, but it works. It works really well in this movie. Patrick, before we get to categories, do you want to talk about the actual ending and what it potentially sets up for the future?
So it feels like a little, not like hope is lost, but like because Tessa kills the Callisk, you're like, oh, he doesn't have like a trophy to take home, but they're going home anyway. And by the time they get home, Damon, Bud has evolved quite a bit into, I would say, a teenage Callisk, which means, he's at least one elephant large and incredibly formidable. And Deck comes back to his home planet and comes face to face with his dad, confronts his dad, fights his dad, proves that he's this great warrior, kills his dad. I mean, he's like, fuck it. You guys are not my tribe. This is my tribe. And this is how I roll, right? If we're playing this game where who's the bigger, badder warrior, I'm showing you that I am, and I'm showing you my power.
Yeah, so he shows up, he chucks Tessa's head, the skull, down in the ground. He's like, here's my trophy. And he's like, this isn't a trophy. What are you talking about? Basically, he's like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about, bitch? Like, this isn't a trophy. And then him and his dad end up fighting, and Deck actually cuts off his dad's arm just like his dad cut off his brother's arm before he killed him. And at that point, he takes off his dad's mask, and his dad's like, I was wrong. You aren't the weakest one. Welcome to my clan. And Deck's like, no, I'm good. I got my own clan. And here comes Bud, literally rips off his dad's head and kills him. It's so badass when Bud just comes out, he's like, I love that moment. He's like, no, I'm good. I've got my own clan. And here comes Thea and here comes
Yeah.
Bud, and they rip the head off. Now, he kills his father. You see up in the hills, like all the other Yautjas are coming out, like kind of seeing what's happening. Like, what the fuck? Like, and by the way, we never learn like what the hierarchy is. We don't know that like his dad is like the king of predators. He's just one of the many clans of predators.
Yeah, he's the leader of
But
this clan.
they all kind of come out of their caves or huts or whatever. And they're all kind of like, what the fuck's going on down here? What just happened? And then you see this giant ship up on the horizon, and it kind of comes down. And he's like, and my first thought was, please, for the love of God, don't let this be like a xenomorph ship or something, because like, don't ruin it right now. Don't bring it. There were no xenomorphs in this movie, by the way. Not a single xenomorph.
Zero.
Just Weyland-Yutani. The ship kind of hovers over the landscape, and Thea's like, what's this? He's like, well, my mother's home. And that's how it ends. That's literally how it ends. So they're giving you like a teaser, like what's his mother's relationship? Is she just like his father? We don't know, but they're setting it up to where if they could do a potential sequel down the road, and that's the ending is, oh, mom's home, basically. And like, that's how it ends.
Yeah.
I
If
love
you
that.
thought dad was bad, here comes mom.
Yeah, I love that, but I love the ubiquitous, like, you don't know. Like, he's kind of like,
Yeah.
oh, shit, mom's home, but you don't really know. So it's kind of a cool ending, but I adored that moment when he's like, no, Dad, I'm good. I got my own clan. And here comes Sid, and here comes Bud. I love that.
Yeah, because why would he go with those people? Why would he go with someone who killed his brother, who thought he was worthless and all this shit? Even if he proved everything, why would you go back to that? That would be a step backwards. He doesn't do that. He takes a step forward. He claims his own badassery. And in the process, shows how good of a warrior he is. I mean, his dad's clearly an alpha wherever they are, in whatever tribe they are. He shows off. Again, this is the whole point of like, this isn't a soft movie. He goes home and fucking murks his dad. Like, it's just like gets revenge on his dad. That's not soft. There's nothing soft about that. He's just like, fuck this. I don't need this shit. I got my own shit. Now I have like this fucking unkillable beast that's one of my best friends, and a robot that can fucking kick the shit out of people. Like I'm good, pal. Like I don't need your tribe. I have my own strengths, my own thing. I'm setting out my own path, but also I'm gonna have to face down mom, because here comes mom. So roll credits.
He literally watches his new buddy Bud bite his father in half. If that's not hardcore, I don't know what is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty fucking hardcore.
Yeah, and then I mean, and we'll talk. We got categories to talk about what comes next, but yeah, so good setup. But I loved everything about the plot, the execution, the evolution of this character. I'm not saying you could do it every time, and I'm not saying you should do it every time, but there is a formula that worked in this movie because they kept it real, they kept it hardcore. As I said, the Yautja's still the Yautja. Yautja gonna Yautja. He's still very much a Yautja. He's still very much a predator. He's added a little bit more of an element of like a family versus like, here's my clan of like, we just got to all be alphas. No, we can actually, like, people actually can care about each other and not murder you because you're the small one of the family.
Yeah. Or it's just like I'm not like every other predator you're going to meet, which I like that. I like that because, and I think we'll get more into that later in the categories, but it was just important to show like that's why we're telling this story. We're telling the story of a predator who stepped out on their own, and here's how they got to that point.
And I want to just I'm not like I feel like I'm making excuses for the movie. I'm not. I'm just trying for people who are like, I'm a hardcore Predator fan. This, like, we've already known this is a very intelligent species. This is not the xenomorph. Well, they do have some sort of communication and they do have some sort of hierarchy with the queen, but they're still very animalistic. We know that the predators, or the Yautjas as their actual name is, that we know they're a very highly intelligent group. And if you're looking for like curiosity, like, oh, they're softening him up, they're turning him into a wuss, whatever. Think about the end of Prey when Amber Midthunder's character wins and they present her with the rifle. They're like, you won. Good job. That's a sign of intelligence. They're not just like, we're going to murder you or we're only out to murder you. Like they're all about the hunt.
Yeah,
And in that particular hunt, that particular predator got defeated by a more worthy predator, a more worthy hunter. Just like with Danny Glover, you know what I mean? Like they're not
that's right.
just like this mindless killing species. Like that's
No,
kind
they
of
have a
like
code. They have a code of honor. Yeah.
yeah. And so that's I mean, obviously Deck has kind of created his own honor, but like he's just basically like, no, I don't need to be part of this murderous cult of like only the strong survive. I'm pretty badass. I'm pretty strong, but I can also have some friends or family in this case.
Yeah.
I love it. Patrick, let's get into some categories. We're going to kick things off as we do each and every week on this show and talk about best performance. Now, it's a weird cast because it's really two people, kind of, three, maybe.
Pretty much.
So,
Yeah. I'm
who
going to
gets your
talk
best
about two of the three right now.
yeah, so who gets your best performance in Predator Badlands?
My best performance goes to Elle Fanning, who plays Thea slash Tessa, because the two robots, the sister robots, or excuse me, synthetic humans, on this planet are played by Elle Fanning. They're both. It's kind of like a yin and yang or Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde situation, because Thea's the nice one, and she even explains like I'm nice and empathetic because it helps me understand the flora and fauna better. Like that, they even explain why she's like that. Tessa not like that. Tessa's like a hardcore killing machine, and so I gave her the best performance because she really plays two totally different roles in this movie, and they work out very well. One being kind of a little bit more fun and allowing us to laugh, and but still having a lot of great badassery, and we'll get into more of that in a minute. And then the other half of her is this Tessa, which is like a cold-hearted synth, like something more on the order of Ash, where it's just like I'm going after the thing no matter what, no matter the cost. It doesn't matter. I need to do what I need to do. So I got to give her that for best performance.
I really liked her in this role, and I really did like the alternate personalities of Thea and Tessa. Um, the way that like was when you meet Thea, she's like you said, very lighthearted, kind of jovial, very just obviously still a sin and very smart, but she's kind of talking to Deck in a way that's like you're kind of like this is like your little cousin, like who wants to tag along
Yeah.
while you're on the adventure. When you meet Tessa, you're like, oh, this is a cold-blooded Weyland-Yutani artificial person who is just out to complete whatever Weyland-Yutani tasks she was set forth on. It's a kind of a cool, kind of cool yin and yang of these characters, and like they're kind of like and like at one point, I can't remember if it's Deck that says like your sisters. And she's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I guess we are kind of sisters. And then at one point, Dia turns to Tessa and she's like, I'm your sister. And Tessa's like, we're not sisters. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, you kind of see, like, there's this cold, detached, robotic thing about Tessa that's not within Thea. So it's kind of a cool thing. Now, just being honest, Patrick, my original idea was I was going to give Elle Fanning the best performance based on just one half of one or the other, but we've already kind of done that. So I got to give flowers, and I do mean this in all honesty, to Demetrius Schuster Kolamatangi, who played Deck. He also played his father, which is kind of interesting. He played like a lot of the action roles, all one stuntman. Now, he's operating behind makeup. He's operating, behind a foreign, predator language that they created for this movie, by the way. Like, they literally created an entire Yautja language for this movie. But there is so much involved that you can do. We talk about Andy Serkis in like the Lord of the Rings movies, things like that. Even though I hate Lord of the Rings, sorry, I just
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of him either.
Or you think about like Doug Jones in Shape of Water, other movies he's done. You can be an impressive actor behind makeup if you do it right. Because when you do it wrong, it can go the other way in a real hurry. I thought Demetrius did an incredible job of showing Deck being this cold-blooded hunter on a mission, only cares about the hunt, only cares about killing the prey, to where we see him at the end when he's like, no, Dad, fuck off. I've got my own clan, and I'm going to watch my buddy Bud literally bite you in half. I thought for a guy operating behind makeup and animatronics, by the way, like he's got that mouth that opens up and the claws, like for him to do what he did this entire movie and show that the emoting he can do through behind makeup, I thought he did a tremendous job. And I know you could say, well, that could be anybody. It can't though, because we've seen it. You've seen bad performances when people are behind makeup, behind creature effects, whatever. It's like putting Tom Noonan in the Frankenstein monster outfit in Monster Squad. I don't know anyone else could have done what Tom Noonan did. Now I know he's more humanistic, he's more human than Deck is, but like I couldn't imagine someone else being in that makeup. I think this dude killed it as Deck.
There is a difference in the way Deck is portrayed. Like the other Yautjas, they walk like the old Predators. They kind of have this stomping swaggerness to them. It's very like warrior stance. Like there's like a clear design to pretty much every Predator we've met before. There is a little bit more emotion in how Deck moves, in how Deck even just interacts with the world. He's a smaller Yautja, so just the way his body reacts and moves to everything. These are all small little choices that could work or not work. If he was trying to kind of stomp around and act like he's the big badass, that's not this character. That would have been a bad choice on his part. Instead, he chose to kind of embody the fact that he is this runt of the Yautja, and it plays that way. He's still a warrior. He's still out there moving. He moves, but he moves in his way, in a way that actually makes him stand out, which is not something that would be easy to do in the Predator universe because most of the Predators look pretty damn similar. You can tell who Deck is, and that's because of his performance.
Also, we haven't even mentioned this. I don't know why we didn't mention this, but I want to throw this out there. To prove himself and actually become part of the clan, that's when he gets his cloak, when he gets his like the cloaking technology where he can basically
Yes.
disappear. He doesn't have that. So like when he's on this planet, there's no like clicking the button and he disappears like you do in the original
Right.
Predator or the other movies. Like he does not have that cloaking technology. That's what he's trying to earn at the end of the movie when he's with his dad and his dad's like, "You've earned the cloak." He's like, "No, fuck you, Dad. I don't need you anymore." He takes the cloak from his dad and then Bud eats him in half, and it's pretty cool. Now he's got the cloak, so he actually does have that cloaking ability, which I thought was kind of a cool twist because you're like, what a great weapon that would be to go into like a secret camp of Weyland-Yutani synths. He can't do that. He can't just disappear
Yeah.
and go invisible. So it's kind of a cool.
That's a
Little,
little something we learned about their culture is like you want to earn your cloak. You have to earn your cloaking ability, and the way to do
yeah,
that is to bring home an ultimate trophy.
yeah, I love it. Next category, Patrick: best kill slash best action slash best gore. We're all kind of combining this into one category because this is ultimately a very big sci-fi action movie. So there's a lot of combination of all these things into one. So, what was your favorite best kill action gore moment in Predator Badlands?
As when we meet Thea, she is half of a synth. She's been ripped apart, I think, by the Callus, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. When they were trying to capture it, and during that capture, she got ripped in half. So she's been looking for her bottom half. They eventually find it in the remnants of one of their little outposts where the Callus fucking raised hell. And they try to suture her back together, and comedically speaking, like that doesn't go very well, but the bottom half becomes sentient again because they're rewiring her. Then there is this part where they're trying to basically siege on the rest of the synths, and she fights a bunch of synths with her bottom and top half. And I gotta say, Damon, and this was one of those moments in the movie where I just went like, Dan Trachtenberg is the fucking man. It is such a great action sequence, a great fight sequence where she's taking on these synths with her top half and her bottom half. So her legs are doing certain kinds of work, and the top half of her is doing certain kinds of work. And it's all choreographed in this incredible way that is just so fucking entertaining to watch. And I was like, that's my scene. Whatever this is, and even there's kills and thrills in there, and stabs and punches and kicks and breaks and all this shit. That's that's kind of the heart of what's so great about this film is all the constant subversion of expectations, using all of the little tricks to their fullest extent. You have a two halves of a synth. Why not make those two halves be able to fight a bunch of other synths together? Damon, that's exactly what I'm going to the movies to see.
And there's a world where you would think, man, that sounds really hokey. Like you're a bottom half fighting with a top half. That sounds really. It's almost like Batman '66. Like it sounds goofy. It works. It
Fucking,
actually
it's
works.
cool. It's cool as
Yeah,
shit.
Yeah, and you can see like that, like when Thea finds her legs originally, like you see like they are one of the same person, like they're part of the same being. It's just it's so cool the way they do it too, with like the legs battling at the same time as the top hat battling, and then yeah, it's just a really cool. It works. I guess this is what I'm getting at is it works when you probably think it wouldn't. Um, so for me, Patrick, I was originally going to go with the final battle between Dex and his dad because it is pretty badass when he finally gets the better of his dad, chops his arm off, and says, "Yeah, you're not beating me. I am actually the alpha of our clan." But I'm going with a general battle, and that is Deck versus the Synths because he kills them in so many different variety of ways, and it's so cool. He lops their heads off, he stabs them, and like I said, he uses the planet's animals as weapons. So at one point, like he uses the little snake creatures, little hydra creatures to go after him. At another point, he has that plant that explodes out with the spores. He uses the planet to his advantage, and he kind of turns like he literally is wearing a mask made out of, I think they call it like a bison or something, like a bison creature that he kills to eat. He uses that as like his mask. Like he uses his surroundings as weapons. And when he goes into that camp, the Weyland-Yutani camp, he just fucks up synths left, right, and center using only what he brought with him to this planet. And it's just such a, I mean, it's the final sequence of the movie up until they go back to Yautja Prime is what it's called. Up to that point, that's the big battle. And it's just so cool. And he's lopping heads off, he's chopping them in half. It's just a really cool sequence.
Yeah, it's really cool how he puts together all of his weapons, which he's basically making primitive versions of what you would think of a classic Predator weapon. Like the Predator typically has that metal dual claw that they have on their gauntlet. And he was like, well, fuck it. Here's a giant fucking beast tooth. That'll be my claw. He'll wrap that around. And then having that snake on his shoulder instead of having the little the laser cannon that they normally have on their shoulder, he's got this eel that fucking shoots acids and shit. It's cool, and it allows for all of that violence that you got from the classic Predator movies, and just makes it twist worthy where it's like, yeah, you could actually bring the kids to this. Like I'm bringing my 8-year-old to go see it. Like it's not going to be a problem. Like they can see this is not, and yet it's still very hardcore.
Yeah, and like there's a plant that you squash down, it explodes. You use that basically like a grenade. And it's everything you've already seen happen in the movie. So they're not just making this shit up. It's the stuff that tries to kill him at the beginning. And Thea's kind of the one who teaches him. She's like, hold on now. If you actually know how this operates, you can A, avoid it, or B, use it to your advantage. There's something called blade grass or glass.
Razor grass.
Razor grass. Thank you. And it's literally just like razor blades and grass. He uses that as a weapon. He takes everything he learned at the beginning of the movie that Thea taught him, and he uses it to his advantage. It's great. It's brilliant. And you get to see some sense get fucked up in a lot of different ways. So it's really cool. Patrick, next category, Best Beast. This is a foreign planet with a whole lot, as we just talked about, the different beasts and different creatures. What was the best beast in Predator Badlands?
Damon, it's the one that I was most worried about, which was this little blue monkey named Bud. And I went, oh, fuck. Just like you said, I was like, are we doing this Grogu shit? Because he is kind of like cute a little bit. As the movie progressed, you realized just how crucial Bud is to the success of our characters, and I appreciated that. And now there's also just a cool design to him. Like when they first meet him, like his back is like armored, so he could roll into a ball and kind of be indestructible at least for a moment. So for instance, they meet him in that razor grass, and he's like, "Fuck it, I can get through the razor grass. You can. You'll be ripped to shreds. I can do it." So he rolls into a ball and rolls through the razor grass and creates a path. So he's actually really important to it. There's tons of great beasts though, Damon. Honestly, that bone buffalo or whatever the fuck it was called, stone. I can't remember what that buffalo was called, but it was sick ass fucking.
I think it was called a bone bison, if I remember correctly.
Bone bison, yeah. It was just badass creatures, like really like cool science fiction creatures. That's why I created this category.
So mine, I'm kind of comboing because the ingenuity of it, and here's what I'm talking about. There's a creature in Predator Badlands. It's almost like a plant, and when you get close to it, it kind of spores out and shoots these darts that when it hits you, it basically paralyzes you. And Thea warns him like, don't get too close to these things because it'll attack. Like if you get too close, its defense mechanisms to spread out and spray these darts that will basically knock you down and you'll be paralyzed. The combo is there's like this flying like pterodactyl kind of creature up in the sky,
Yes.
and it drops stones into the middle of this like poppy field, for lack of a better word, like the field of those paralyzing creatures, and it drops stones around Deck. So when the stones drop, it basically alerts the spore creatures to spread out, and it basically she tells him like the creature's dropping stones, so these things paralyze you, so it can then come down and eat you.
Yeah.
I love the combo of that. Like it's really like it's pretty ingenious when you think about it. Like the ingenuity of that. Like there's a creature he knows he can't just swoop down and snatch you and kill you, so he's going to drop stones. So these things paralyze you, and then it's going to come down and eat you. I just thought that was a really cool like combo of like how they made that whole thing work.
It feels very researched. So you feel like what you're watching is like an actual, some sort of like a a nature documentary from another planet. But it just seems
Yeah.
like something that would actually happen. It's little details like that that to me like make this a very full and rich world without having to like belabor anything.
Yeah. Next category, Patrick, more movies from this perspective. And this is basically saying, should we do more sequels that stick to Deck's POV, this point of view? And we talked about this earlier in terms of the ending kind of giving you a cliffhanger. Mom shows up and there's Deck and his new family hanging out, and they're like, oh shit, Mom's home. We don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. We have to assume it's probably not a good thing. Do we want more movies like this in the future? Do we want a Predator Badlands sequel?
I'll take a sequel, and I think you need to stick with Deck and his POV. What I would caution is creating a bigger world that's also lighthearted. Let this be the lighthearted Predator, offshoot, and just tell it from Deck and Thea and Bud's perspective. Like they are this group and they are going to go on these adventures. They're still going to be harrowing. There's still going to be blood, guts, and gore. The blood's going to be a different color, but like just here. So that way, what happens is that the whole idea of Yautjas and predators doesn't get watered down. Like, let it just be told from Deck's perspective. Let Deck have like a 3-story arc or something like that that kind of completes this idea. And then we move back or move on to sort of a classic, more harrowing, more dangerous predator for other predators. So I'm saying sequel, but I'm saying keep it with Deck.
I'm all for a sequel. I want to know what happens when Mom comes home, and I'm all for it. But I'm with you 100%. Only Deck, because what I don't want is them to say, "Well, everyone liked the cute, but everyone liked Deck being emotional and kind of creating his own family. Everyone liked the Weyland-Yutani synth that had a personality. What can we do with that? No." Don't do that. I don't know. I don't know why I thought of this when I was watching this, like thinking about this for the podcast. Do you remember the infamous Star Wars Christmas special? Do you remember this?
Yes, of course.
Where they went to the planet and you're hanging out with like Chewbacca and his family in their tree hut, and it's just like what is going on here? I don't really need to see them at home. I don't want to see a baby predator getting like milk fed by its mother. I don't need to see that. I don't want any of that. I don't want like family home time with the predators. You know what I mean? I don't need like Family Matters starring the predators or like the Brady Bunch with the predators. I don't need that. Give me Deck. Give me his next adventure if that's taken on Mom, or what Mom is actually there for. Is she totally evil? Is she just like Dad, or is she better than Dad? We don't know. Let's take that next adventure, and then, like you said, maybe one more somehow, like give it a three-story arc, whatever it is. I'm fine with that. Give me Deck. Give me that story. We've already seen the evolution of that character. I don't need more of that, though. I don't need the Brady Bunch of predators.
Yeah. What I don't need is whatever's going on with like the Mandalorian and Grogu and Book of Boba Fett, where it's just like, okay, this is all now just turning into something very watered down. Like
Yeah.
just stick to this story, and it can still be harrowing. It can still be crazy. and it could still have that great big grand sci-fi feel to it. Just stick to these guys and make all the rest of the Predators dangerous badasses that you don't want to cross. You know, like this is let's focus on this for now, and we'll move back to that other stuff later.
Let him be the one exception to the rule, not the start of something
Yes.
different.
Yes, please. He is the exception, not the rule.
Exactly. Next category, Patrick. Can we survive this horror film?
Come
Uh
on, Damon.
no.
Nope.
No.
We are royally fucked. They literally knew it was so dangerous. The only thing Weyland-Yutani has done right, by the way, in years, is they said only send synths. There's no chance a human can even survive here. So we are assed out, Damon. There's no fucking chance. We're dead within seconds. That fucking right when he falls onto the planet, he gets attacked by these crazy tree tentacles. They would have ripped us to shreds and ate us for breakfast. I mean, we would have been done right then and there. We have no shot on Genna or any of these planets.
Like I'm trying to think, if you, because it literally is like walking through like a, just like just a series of landmines. Like which one? Let's just say you make it through the weird vine snake, whatever creature that is out of the trees. That's the first thing. Like what? Like I'm trying to think, like what would be the one most likely to kill you? Because like I feel like the Hydra thing, the snake thing's definitely going to get me. I'm going to get absolutely. I think I'm more likely to get stabbed by the paralyzing thing, and the thing's gonna come down and swoop down and eat me because I'm a big dude. I'm a meal, so like I feel like that's gonna be me. But like you're not making it out of here. You're not getting out of here alive. There's no way. You might make it through a couple of the things, but you're not making it very far.
I mean, I'm low to the ground, right? So I might be missed by a few of those things. The pterodactyl might miss me. Even the plant might miss me. But like then there's the razor grass and the fucking bone bison. That shit's just mowing me down. Like there's no chance. Or the exploding slugs. Like oh cool, I just walked near an exploding slug and it blew me to fucking bits. Like it is not a place meant for humans. You're not getting out of it. It's 100% chance. Even Weyland-Yutani, the dopiest company in the known galaxy was like, just send synths. There's no way a human survives on that planet.
Yeah, we're dead. We're the real question isn't how. The real question isn't whether we die. It's how quickly we die.
How quickly what kills us is really more what it's about.
Yeah, but in reality, we'd be dead within about 2 minutes because they almost killed Deck within 2 minutes. We would be
Oh
totally.
my God, Dead was basically done.
Yeah. So
What makes you think we're
really,
surviving?
yeah, we're really, really done for. Final category. We already said this isn't really a scary movie. It's a harrowing movie. It's a
Yeah.
thrilling movie, but it's just not like your traditional. Like, it's very sci-fi horror. Much. I mean, I would argue the Predator's scarier than this one. There's a lot more.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
Predator and
mystery. So
Predator 2 are scarier for sure.
yeah. So, but definitely, like I said, it's still a very harrowing movie, very thrilling movie. With that being said, Patrick, the final category: Predator or Prey. Explain.
Yes, Damon, I thought to myself, and this is not about Prey the movie, by the way. I know it's kind of confusing. The point is, does this thing have teeth, or is this the thing that gets eaten? Damon, this movie's got teeth in the best possible way. We said it from the outset. There are stakes, there is hardcore violence. You just have to get used to the fact that it's not red blood, that it's not humans that are getting toe up from the flow up. It's going to be synth milk blood and alien milk blood. And we're probably going to get another movie. I'm hoping this one does very well. And in that movie, they're going to take on some other kind of super treacherous, super harrowing alien that kills in a super gnarly way. I'm looking forward to whatever that's going to be because why not be able to take me in a direction that I've never been before and still be able to go hardcore and I can still take my kids to it. To me, that's like a win-win-win.
This is everything you could hope for in an evolution of a Predator movie, all the ways that the other Predator movies failed to do so. And I love this story. Shane Black, who I like very much, by the way, he's a great writer. He wrote Monster Squad, wrote
Yep.
the original Lethal Weapon. He's written a lot of stuff. He did Predators, the really bad one.
Whew.
and he met Dan Trachtenberg at a party. He was hanging out. I think he said, I think I remember him saying, I can't remember who he was with. He was with somebody else famous, but he was hanging out at a party, tap on his shoulder, and he says, turns around, it's Shane Black. And Shane Black shook his hand and said, man, you get this. You got it. He's like, and he literally is like, I fucked it up royally. You got it right. Way to go, man. You really get this universe. You really get this story. And I was like, that's awesome. Like, what a great, like, even he recognized, like, yep, I didn't do it, but you sure did. So way to go, Dan Trachtenberg. Also, real quick, I want to mention this. I don't know why I thought of this. You mentioned earlier Ross Duffer from the Stranger Things is the voice in this movie. Do you know how that happened?
No.
Dan Trachtenberg was supposed to direct an episode of the final season of Stranger Things. He committed to it. And he pitched Killer of Killers and Badlands to 20th Century Studios. And he's like, if they greenlight one of them, I'll be happy. They came back and said, do both. So now he's got an animated film and a full live action film he's got to do. And so he had to call the Duffers and say, guys, I'm sorry, I can't do the movie. I can't do the final season of Stranger Things because very involved show. They took a year to film the final 8 episodes. So he had to drop out. And then he's like, hey, how would you guys like to come be a voice on my movie? Like, just like as a sorry, I guess, or whatever. And so they came and did the voice. He was supposed to direct one of the final episodes of Stranger Things and had no idea that 20th Century would be like, go make Killer of Killers and Badlands. He's like, oh, fuck, I got a lot of work to do. I got a lot of work to do. So he had to drop off Stranger Things to do these 2 movies.
A good problem to have, and then the Duffer Brothers were not bitter about it. We're like, yeah, sure, we'll come and we'll do a voice in your movie. Why not?
Yeah, I love it. But this movie absolutely has everything you want. It is 100% a Predator. It is just the next evolution. Like I said, it's the one that gets it right because we've seen where they go wrong, and Shane Black apparently knows that too.
He admits it.
Yeah, he's like, guys, yeah, you got it. I sure didn't. Patrick, that's our episode. Predator Badlands in theaters right now. Go check it out. And I really do mean when I say go see it in theaters. And also, I want to point this out real quick before we get out of here. Even if you're not like a Predator hardcore, you don't need to really know the other Predators. Just know the general idea of a Predator. And you can go enjoy this movie. Just like Prey. You really don't even had to have seen any of the other Predator movies. That's kind of what I enjoy about this universe, honestly. They're not really connected in any way. Like, they're all kind of like their own thing. Now, if they do a sequel to this, that would be the first time. But reality, there's no, through line, really. Like, Dutch doesn't show up in every movie and, I got to kill the Predator. No.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah, they stand on their own.
So, you haven't seen Killer of Killers? That's fine. You can go see Badlands. You haven't seen Predator 2? That's cool. Go see Badlands. You haven't seen Prey? Go see Prey. But you don't need to see it to see Badlands. So, kind of a cool thing about this movie. With that being said, Patrick, obviously want to say thank you to everyone that tunes in the show each and every week. Obviously, check us out on all your favorite podcast platforms. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Just search Rewind of the Living Dead on YouTube. We are over there. And, of course, over on our website, rewindofthelivingdead.com. Also, as I've pumped a couple times on the show, and I'll do it again now, patreon.com/rewindofthelivingdead. This episode is being recorded on a Friday. We're going to finish wrapping. I'm going to edit, and it's going to be up within about 15, 20 minutes. Early access to all of our episodes, patreon.com/rewindoflivingdead.
Early access. Also, we have our Film Core podcast, which we've done already two episodes of, which is non-horror stuff. We did Superman, we did Smash Machine, and also, if you want, your buddy Patrick is going to go live with the patrons only. So if you're a paying patron, we're gonna have a special live. I'm already coordinating it with the patrons. I try to be as communicative as I can with that group, and we're gonna have our own personal live. We're gonna talk horror. We're gonna talk shit. We're gonna talk movies. Whatever we want to talk, we could do whatever we want. Please join us at patreon.com/rewind of the living dead. It's only $5 a month, and it supports your favorite horror podcast. We appreciate it so much. And guess what? The more of you that join, the less I need to be on the road not doing this podcast, because I have been insanely busy. But if I could be busy with Patreon, I'd much rather be busy doing that. So please join the group.
Yes, join the rotten ones. That's what you want to be over there right now. Rewind of Living Dead, or excuse me, patreon.com/Rewind of Living Dead. Questions, comments, movies you like us to review. I'll be honest, quickest way you can get a response from us is probably on Patreon. I'll be completely honest about that. We are always getting notifications about Patreon. So if you do want to reach us, I'm not saying it as like a selling point, but it does work. Patreon.com/Rewind of Living Dead. We do get your messages and we tend to see them a little quicker. But you can also hit us up on social media. Just search Rewind of the Living Dead. We are on Twitter/X, Facebook, and Instagram. You can always find us there. You can also send us emails. We still have an email out there. rotlivingdead@gmail.com. That's rotlivingdead@gmail.com. And you can also find us on our own personal social media channels. I am at Damon Martin, and you are?
At Director Patrick.
And as always, want to say a big thank you to everyone that tunes in the show. We'll be back next week with another edition of Rewind of the Living Dead. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you then.
Peace.